This isn't going to distract you right here, these guys.
I'm more laughing because it's like, the last time we finished, we were talking about your career as if it was over, and then it continued. And so I think, for a lot of people, we followed it closely because, obviously for friendship and just knowing you a long time. But, tell us what happened after we finished last May or whenever it was.
Well, I ended up playing in this, it was just a game, like an exhibition game against the Israel Olympic team.
Yeah.
We had put together a team with Cody Decker to go to Arizona and play, their Olympic team. With COVID and all that stuff, they couldn't play any of the organizations or anything in Arizona. So they kind of asked Cody if he would, get a team together, and we put some of our athletes from Texas on it, some of the guys from here on it, and went there and played them like a couple games. I ended up pitching in the first game. There were a few scouts, behind home plate, and ended up hitting like 94 in that game. Pitched pretty well, but then the next day we ended up playing again, and they only wanted to go like 7 innings, so I wanted to give our guys like some innings. I didn't want to take another inning.
Yep.
Let everybody pitch. So after the game was over, Eric Sim was on our team.
Okay, yeah.
YouTuber.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
love you, Sim.
I told him, hey, I'll do some live at bats against you, just me and you. I'll throw you all fastballs. I'm gonna K you, punch you out. I ended up throwing like 95 against him the next day. Just having fun. No scouts were there for that, but it was on like Instagram. So after the game, I was sitting, at a restaurant in Scottsdale or something, and I get a text from Logan White, who's, he used to be at the Dodgers when I was there. He's a scouting director. He's with the Padres now, in the front office with them, and he just texted me and asked, if I would be willing to play. And I was like, yes, of course I'd be willing to play. Like, I've been doing this, and with the idea of possibly playing if someone would give me an opportunity. And so I ended up going to Nashville for like a weekend for one of my cousins' like 50th birthdays. And, I was sitting there, and we're trying to figure out when I can come to Arizona to throw for them. It was right around the draft, so he was like doing a bunch of scouting, kind of traveling all over the country. And we ended up deciding like beginning of June I'd come to Arizona, throw for them in front of, a bunch of their guys, a bunch of their scouts, coaches, front office, stuff like that. So I ended up going there and faced some of their minor league guys and pitched really well. I was, I think, topping out at like 94, striking guys out, throwing fastballs by guys. Did really well, and I think they were a little bit shocked because when I showed up, I ended up talking to a few of them after, but when I showed up, they're like, what, like Joe Beimel, like a 44-year-old, like what are we doing, like he's just gonna come in here and like,
dude,
sinker,
like 44,
sinker.
Man, I'm telling you, I walked in, you're like 6'5", 230. I'm like, good Lord.
Well, thanks. I must have grown a little bit since the last time you saw me. But yeah, so I think they were a little surprised that I came in there throwing as hard as I was. And, afterwards, they were just kind of like, all right, well, we want to sign you. So ended up working the details out. My agent worked the details out with their assistant GM. And I just went down to Arizona and started getting ready and playing and just trying to have a good time.
Yeah. Was that different? I mean, I guess I don't remember ever thinking about having a good time when I was playing. So is it like different in that mindset, being 44 and be like, hey man, I'm house money right now. Like, this is awesome.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all, that my only goal. I mean, I wanted to get to the big leagues. Course, obviously, that's the only reason I was doing it. But my only goal, other than that, was to have fun.
Yeah.
And there have been times in my career where I've just been like, focus on having fun, and those have been my best years that I've ever had.
Yeah.
The years where I had fun and then put up good numbers and then it was like, oh, okay, now I got to do it again this year. Some of those years weren't as good.
Yeah, I can believe that, yeah.
But with this, it was just, I went to Arizona, and kind of weird because I didn't necessarily, I think we talked about last year, was I didn't miss playing at all. So it wasn't like I had this need that I felt like I had to, play again, or that something was missing. I just thought, like, if I'm throwing this hard, I might as well give it a shot and play, because if not, I'm just kind of wasting it. So went to Arizona, and I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to like doing this.
Yeah, exactly, right.
I'll give it a shot.
How long had it been?
It had been probably, I think I retired in 2017.
Okay, so like 5 years.
So,
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd been
about
a while.
that, yeah. And, I walked into the clubhouse, and I remember being there the first day, and I was just like, oh yeah, this feels right. Like,
nice.
I fell right back into the routine of being a player. It would just happen really quickly. And I was like, oh, I really like this.
Yeah,
like, this is
that's
fun.
Cool.
Yeah, so like I said, the main goal was just to have fun, and it just took off any pressure that I would have put on myself if I'd been like, all right, I got to get back to the big leagues.
Yeah.
So I just, like, there were games, like, I was there for about 2 weeks, pitched really well.
Yep.
And the plan was they were going to have me go there for 2 weeks, which I did, go to Double-A. In Double-A, just get ready.
Yeah.
See what I can do. If I pitch well, they said they'd call me up to Triple-A to get me in the bubble, and I wouldn't be there long, and I'd go up to the big leagues.
Okay.
So pitch well in Double-A, and
Yep.
there were a couple games where I didn't. One of the funny things was, because I'm pitching in here and I'm training and doing all that stuff. Well, you forget, like, runners get on base sometimes, So in Arizona, I didn't have one runner on base. I think I had one because I hit a guy and then I picked him off.
Okay. Nice.
So I didn't really have to pitch with runners on. And then my first, like, week or 2 weeks in Double-A, I didn't allow a runner. So the first time a runner gets on,
that's insane, by the way. That's insane.
Yeah, and the first time a runner gets on, I think he was on second as well, so not even just first base. He gets on, I'm looking back and like, oh man, I haven't done this in a while. Like, I forget how to pitch with runners on base. So I start, like, I'm so slow to the plate.
Yeah.
So slow. And the guy's just, like, getting a huge lead.
Yeah.
You can see him out there, like, not a fast guy, thinking, like, I think I can steal third right here. Yeah. And I'm just, like, slow, methodical, throwing. And, of course, he takes off, steals third, and I always prided myself on holding runners. That was one thing I did well. And not doing that, I was, like, a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
So I had to start working every day when I threw, like, played catch with my throwing partner. I had to actually work on, like, looking back there, like, throwing, like, practicing with a guy on second, and then, fell back into it quickly, but it took a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, I had a blast there. I was playing with kids that are, like, my oldest son's age.
And where is Double-A?
It's in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, yeah. Sweet. Yeah.
So
that's
good
great.
town.
Yeah.
Field wasn't great, but, like, before I went there, everybody's like, this field is terrible. Like, you're going to hate it. And I went there, and I'm like, it's not that bad.
Yeah. It's the same one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's like
the
Wolf or something like that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so it used to be apparently way worse.
Okay.
And they fixed it up a little bit, but still not great, but it's not terrible.
Well, dude, think about some of the fields we played at over the years.
Yeah.
Like, so when...
Oh, my
gosh.
gosh.
That one's fine compared to Oneonta, New York or something.
Oh, that's exactly the one I was going to bring up. That's the worst field I've ever played in.
Oh, without a doubt. The
like
locker
the
room's
outfield
flooded,
was like this.
Undulating outfield, nothing to do in town.
It's like a chain link fence.
You got it, yeah.
Yeah. I remember we played there, terrible. But then I think the next time we played at, like, Doubleday Field.
Okay.
So in Cooperstown.
Yep.
And that was nicer field, but it's like 213 to right field.
Exactly.
So there were like 20 homers in the game. I'm just like, this is
brutal.
Yeah. Pro guys playing.
Fun for the fans, but brutal for the guy pitching.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, I had a good time there. I was pitching really well. And the funny thing is, games like I didn't pitch well, I was just like, oh, that's all right.
Yeah,
you know, I remember I gave up a home run. We were playing against the Cardinals AA team. I'm not even sure where they're from. Maybe Springfield
right?
or something. Yeah, Springfield. Yeah. And I'm out on the mound, and the best part is, like, I would just pitch and, like, talk shit to people like the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, I was just out there having fun. I'm like, hey, come on, dude, like, swing the bat. What are you doing? Like, I'm old. I'm throwing too many pitches. Let's go. Or that's somebody beautiful. Get on, and I'd be like, oh man, wow, that was a nice hit, you know. But I was just out there, like, enjoying myself. And I had like a runner on or something, and have this battle going on with this guy, and he's fouling stuff off, and just it was a lot of fun. And then I end up giving up a home run to him, and he hit it really well, 2-run homer, and didn't bother me. I got the next guys out, and after the game I was like, wow, you know what, that was really fun. Like, that was a fun outing right there. And even though I didn't have the greatest result, but I was having fun. I was enjoying myself. Right? Yeah. So that was the difference of, other times in my career where give up a home run, it's like, oh, that's a terrible outing. Like, I'm pissed. And,
for sure. No, it's results based, right?
Sit in the dugout or in the clubhouse, like, geez, freaking giving up a home run, whatever. And I ended up coming in like a couple days later and pitched well again and got back on track instead of letting that snowball into like multiple bad outings because I was pissed about one pitch.
For sure. Well, the baseball's so funny because you could come out and give up 3 missiles. Yeah. But if they're all outs, you're like, oh, they're fine. Yeah. But 2 bloops and a blast, and you're like, I pitched terrible.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely. That's where over the years I've learned to, like, not, I mean, even last year, but even before that, not focus on the result for the most part because of that. There are times where you come in and you pitch terrible, but you have a good result. Yeah. And then if you just allow yourself to go like, oh, I had a great outing because I put up a 0, and then you're not right, something isn't right, so sure. You keep doing that consistently, you're going to not have a very good year. But if you come in and you feel like you pitched well, but you have a bad result, you give up a home run or give up a couple bloop hits, and you sit there and you go, all right, like, that was good. Yeah. Like, if I consistently do that over and over and over again, I'm going to have a good year. Yep, 100%. But, that's where I think some younger players fall in a trap, is they focus so much on that result that it ends up not working out for them in the long run. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's and the crazy thing, it's normally like one result. How many runs? Like, that's it. Like, you can, give up 8 hits and 3 walks, but 2 runs, you're like, that was fine. It's like, no, you got lucky. You absolutely could have gone real south quickly. So So AA, obviously threw the ball great there. That was, I was following along, having fun, sending you DMs and all that stuff. But so AAA, you get going up there. Yeah, they. So I was in AA a little longer than I thought I was going to be because I was pitching really well, and like they said, they weren't signing me to just pitch in the minor leagues. Yeah. So they wanted me to be able to help the big league team out. So I'm sitting in AA, and I'm like, all right, I think let's go. We're good. And communication with the Padres at that point kind of went dark. I think they were just struggling at the big league level. For sure. They're starting to collapse a little bit and hitting the panic button. So, I was talking to the AA manager and pitching coach. I'm like, hey, is there a league higher than this? Because if there is, I should probably be there. I was like, can you ask the GM if there's a league higher than this? And maybe that rubbed them the wrong way too, but I was just, hey dude, you're 44. Yeah, like, I mean, they signed you. They knew what they were getting. Like, exactly. Come on. And I was having fun, so it was more of just along those bases of talking crap and having fun. But so finally they call me up, and I go up to El Paso, which I live in El Paso. Yeah, which is great, So it was perfect. Kind of crazy. Got to go home. and I had to like quarantine for a certain amount of time because AAA was the bubble, you know.
So
that's
right.
In between,
that's right.
in between the big leagues and AAA, you had to have, there was different rules.
Okay.
Like you had to get tested more often, wear masks in like the clubhouse, you know, do all that stuff.
That's a trip. Yeah, and so you didn't have to do that in
no,
San Antonio. Yeah.
No. Still had to get tested, but not as often. I think I had to get tested twice in San Antonio a week, and 3 times in AAA, which not a big deal. You just come in, spit in a tube, and there you go. You're
move
done.
along. Yeah.
So went up there, pitched really well for like the first 2 weeks, and I was just kind of like, all right, I'm ready. Like,
well, especially because they were struggling. It's not like they were dealing up there.
And that was another thing. Like I thought, well, maybe the bullpen's not doing well. Maybe they'll call me up. And I think what ended up really happening was they didn't want to call up a 44-year-old in the midst of, you know, them not doing well, and ended up falling out of the playoff race, which was super surprising, I think, to everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
So they were really playing bad. And I don't think they wanted their savior to be a 44 long-haired guy with just coming up there, gray hair everywhere, and trying to get people out. But, you know, I knew, because, I mean, I've been in the big leagues long enough that I know my own stuff, and I know when I'm pitching well. Yeah. And I know I could have gone up there 100%. And done well.
100%.
So it didn't work out, and that was obviously disappointing because I wanted to pitch in the big leagues, but just the experience of doing that last year and the amount of fun I had, I was like, well, you know what? I think I can do this again next year. We'll maybe give it another shot. And, you know, I finished the season not as great as I would have liked. I think once they didn't call me up, I was just kind of like, all right. Not that I gave up or anything, but I wasn't intense.
Yeah, the carrot wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, all right, this is, and, you know, I basically pitched on the moon in El Paso. That place is a launching pad.
Brutal. Yep.
You know, we went to Albuquerque.
Brutal.
For one. I gave up like 2 home runs in a series there, where I was just like, oh my gosh. And now everything, you have all your data and stuff like that from like Hawkeye and TrackMan and all this stuff. And I think I gave up like a walk-off homer to a guy. He hit it. Oppo was like a first pitch. He hit it Oppo, and I think the exit velocity was like 88 or something, and it just like dropped over the fence, and I was like, wait, what just happened right there? Like, that went over? And then I'm standing on the mound like, all right, I guess I walk inside now. Like, I threw one pitch.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, can we like try that over? But yeah.
Well, the other thing too is the ball doesn't go foul there.
Yeah.
Like, hits down the line, you're expecting it to curve foul, it stays right on the line.
Oh yeah, there's no air. So it's just brutal. Like, it's like a marble just shooting through the, like, what is going on? So I gave up more home runs there than I would have liked. Like, pitching in San Antonio is pretty fair park.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I gave up maybe that 1 home run we talked about earlier, but El Paso I gave up a couple, Albuquerque I gave up a couple. So I mean, just any fly ball was, and I had become more of a fly ball pitcher because I was, you know, working the top of the zone, had a lot more horizontal break or vertical break, had a really low like vertical approach angle, so my ball's kind of flat, so, you know, when I pitch up in the zone, guys weren't hitting it. So I think my strikeout to walk ratio was like the best it's ever been at any level for the whole year. And so like I said, I knew I could have got guys out in the big leagues, but just didn't happen. And you know, just chalk it up as one of those years. And, you know, I was telling guys like, oh man, I'm not getting called up this year, but hopefully next year, you know, get a 40-man spot in the off season or something. But, you know, just messing around. But so still possibly going to play this year as well. I think I said the same thing last year, that I would give it a shot. So I'm starting to kind of get dialed in right now with my training and pitching and throwing. And then, you know, same thing, see if someone will let me throw for them and give me an opportunity.
Well, so it sounds, I mean, just, you know, again, followed it pretty closely. And dude, if you're lefty 94, 95, good low attack angle, can spin a ball at the top of the zone. I mean, look, I don't care how old you are. Like, I've seen a lot worse in the big leagues running around right now. So it's like you feel like somebody will give you another shot again this year, and that's the deal.
Yeah, I'm hoping. It's even last year I threw for a couple teams, threw for the Yankees in here, threw for the Braves, and I think the consensus from most teams was just like, oh yeah, your stuff's big league, like you have big league stuff, but you're 44 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
So hopefully I put that to rest last year I wasn't hurt at all. You know, I didn't spend a day in the training room, not one day, and I made sure of that because I take care of my body and do a bunch of recovery stuff, and I wanted to make it a point, like, look, I'm not even coming in here to get like a massage or a stretch or anything. Like I'm pretty good. So, the 24-year-olds that were laying on the training table and be like, what the heck are you doing, man? I don't know if you know this, but I'm 44 and I'm never even in here.
So that's an interesting concept. Did guys like ask you questions? Like, about like, how are you still doing this? I mean, I'm 42 and I'm, like I said, watching you last year, I was blown away. I'm like, God dang, he's not only like getting outs with good stuff, but he's recovering. And like that to me was as impressive as anything.
Yeah, it was, it was funny because it was just a weird situation where obviously I'm way older than everyone there. You know what I mean? Like when I got to AAA, the coach there, well, he was a pitching coach, Eric Young.
Okay.
He's spelled Junge, so they call him Jungle.
Okay.
But he took over as the manager. The manager in El Paso ended up like stepping away or like quitting or something mid-season. So he was a pitching coach there, and he ended up taking over as the head coach. But he was my age,
Yeah, that's wild.
And he actually showed me his lineup card from his first big league win, and it was against the Pirates when I was with them, and I'm on the lineup card.
That's so funny.
So it was pretty cool, but like he's just like, what? How are you doing this? Like I don't understand.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And a lot of my teammates, they were trying to learn from me as well about recovery and just asking tons of questions every day. But it was just a weird situation because I was so much older than them, but it didn't feel like I was like that much older than them. You know what I mean? It was like it's that
the
baseball,
right? Yeah. You go back in the clubhouse and it's just you fall right in step with how it's always been and what it feels like.
Now I'm like hanging out with kids that are my oldest son's age, and I'm just like, this is a little weird.
Yes, you're going out at night with them, right?
Yeah, once in a while.
Yeah, of course.
Not too often.
Yeah, different than it used to be.
Can't handle that anymore, but once in a while, hang out with them, and most of the time I just stay in the clubhouse after the games and hang out with the manager and like pitching coach. But it was just crazy that. And then C.J. Abrams was on the team in Double-A, and he's in the big leagues now. But he ended up getting hurt soon after I got to Double-A, so I didn't get to know him very well. But he was like 20 years old last year, and my daughter's 20 years old. So I was like, this is so weird.
Yeah, I know. It's bizarre. It's It's funny, as you get old, you watch the big league games now, and it's like, man, they start to look young.
Mm-hmm.
Like C.J. Abrams, when he's on TV now, even my wife was like, how old is that kid? Like, it looks like a kid. Versus, like,
absolutely.
They used to look older. We're getting older. It's crazy.
Yeah, you think of like Andrew Jones when he first came up.
Yeah, right.
He was like 19 years old playing in the playoffs or World Series. And I think back then, I was like, he probably looked super young, but he was older than me, so he didn't look like that young.
Yeah, for sure. No, I know it's wild. So so getting ready for this year now. So we're in your facility, Beimel Elite Athletics, man. Like, it's cool because all the best players that our team's played against this year are like on your wall right now. So I look at the names, I'm like, oh, he pitched against us. Oh, he beat us. Oh, he's that guy's nasty. So where'd the facility idea come from?
Well, my business partner Brent Dean, he would always catch me in the off seasons, and He was just a guy, I think we talked about this last time, was a guy that just worked hard.
Yeah.
Caught a couple tough breaks out of UCLA where he didn't get drafted, and had an eligibility thing with UCLA where he thought he had another year of eligibility, and like a misfiled paperwork or something on a red shirt just didn't work out, and he got notified like right before the season started, so he'd been there all winter, all fall.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Ready for the season, and then NCAA told him that he didn't have any eligibility. He could appeal it, but if he played and he lost the appeal, then the team would have to forfeit every single game that he played in. So, good old NCAA just helping their players out and really looking out for their student athletes. But so he obviously played pro ball for a long time as a catcher, and we had always talked about, I knew my career was kind of winding down a little bit, and he had been playing indie ball for a couple years, so I wasn't sure how much longer he wanted to do that. And I was just like, I'd love to start a training facility, where everything is in one building. We have the workouts, we can monitor what guys are doing as far as their strength program, their mobility, come do some throwing stuff, help guys gain velocity that need to gain velocity. And, there wasn't anything around here like that. So I thought it would be a good, a good opportunity to help players and, do that whole thing. And I was like, he would be the perfect business partner because, one, he knows what it's like to put the hard work in,
for sure.
Similar to myself. And I was fortunate and blessed enough to play in the big leagues for a long time, and he didn't get that opportunity. Not that if he would have got it, he wouldn't have been able to be successful, but you played the game, and it just always doesn't happen that way. So a lot of the, a big part of it is you have to have a little bit of luck and get those opportunities, or have someone in the front office that likes you. And that worked out for me. But so anyways, we ended up, so I had retired, and I don't know if you remember the refinery.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah, Shane Schumacher ran that. So they had a gym in their facility.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Brent, we were talking about doing some camps and clinics and all this stuff, and then somebody told him that the gym that was in there was actually leaving to go somewhere else, and that spot was opening up. And he's like, hey, let's is that some place you'd want to go, or do that over there? And I was like, it's perfect timing. Let's just get it started. So we met with Shane and ended up coming to an agreement, and then they actually soon after ended up merging with Beach Cities over in El Segundo. So part of the deal was we got to go over there, and at first we went over there and we're just like, oh man, this is way smaller and we don't have a whole lot of room, but let's go ahead, we'll just give it a shot and start here. And then from there, definitely very thankful they gave us that opportunity. But I'd say I think we've been in here for 2 years, so
sounds right.
It was about that time to we started getting a lot of athletes, getting a lot bigger, so we needed our own space. So we ended up looking for this, and it wasn't ideal because it was right in the middle of COVID. So we were trying to find a new place right in the middle of all that stuff, and found this place and moved in here, and it's just I love being in
good.
Here.
I mean, as an athlete, this is the dream. You can lift, you can throw. I mean, you got all the analytics, all the the data that you need with Rapsodo, and now you got Broad Trackman, and so it's it's
and one of the big things too was I always hated going to gyms. I hated going to the bro gyms, waiting, you have to wait for a squat rack or wait for something, and you just sit there, and then you're like, all right, I'm leaving. I'm not waiting for this shit. But with Brent, he would always catch me, and we'd always play catch, and a lot of times we'd go over to like South High, where he went to high school.
Yep.
They would always let us over there. Their head coach, Grady.
Yeah, good dude.
Yeah, good dude. And then once in a while we go up to PV and throw, and Brent was always like all over the place all day. So he would go down to Long Beach to like work out and lift, and then he'd drive to like UCLA to hit or catch some bullpens for guys, and then he'd meet me up in PV to like catch me or play catch or play long toss. So he was like all over the place, driving all over, LA and the surrounding areas, and obviously like how long that takes to drive anywhere and all the traffic, and it's just that in itself is terrible. So that was another thing where we would have every single thing you need in here, and you wouldn't have to leave.
Yeah,
I mean, we got a field down the street that it's like a little park if someone wants to go long toss. Most guys will like long toss into this big net we have here, into the cage.
Right, yeah, there you go.
But everything is here, all the warm up. We have a mobility room over here where you just lacrosse balls, foam rollers. It's its own separate room to get loose. We've got a recovery room where we've got a red light.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, we have that in there. We've got a really sick cold tub in there.
Are you still doing that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I know that was your thing.
I didn't do it yet today. I don't know if I'll get it in today because I'm gonna drive to like Phoenix, but I usually do it every single day unless I can't. Then but I still do all the breath work and all that stuff. So there's like a training table in there. You can lay down, do some breath work, do whatever. The red light has red light and near infrared light on it, so you guys just lock the doors, go in there, stand there, for like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And then can jump in the cold tub if they want.
It's awesome.
But not a lot of guys want to, but we have some
that's a special
that do.
Person,
Yeah. But like the cold tub is awesome. So I bought that like probably a year or so ago. There's a place called Renew Therapy down in Orange County, and they just build these awesome like cold tubs. They're expensive, but they're worth it. They're aesthetically pleasing. They're very nice, and water's always cold, always clean. It's filtered.
That's great.
And then I'm in El Paso, and I've got the meat fridge in the back.
Oh yeah.
And I open it up, unplug it. Not trying to electrocute myself, but I've got all these things rigged up to it, like ozone machine to keep the water clean. And I've got like a couple filters that keep the water moving. So it does its purpose, but I was like, man, I might, because I drove, like I might grab that thing and just take it back with me.
Yeah, for
Not
sure.
anybody, if nobody's using it, but I found out there's a few guys using it, so we'll leave it here.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so any stories that jump out from last year? Funny stories that I know it was a little bit of a...
Well, one, I ended up facing a guy that trained with us, so he was with the Diamondbacks in AA. They were in Amarillo. So he comes up to the plate, and I'm just blowing fastballs. Like I'm going to strike him out, So it was one of the harder games I was throwing. It was early in the season, and I wasn't like, I was just in like throw hard mode.
All gas, no brakes.
Yeah. So I was still throwing strikes, but I mean, I wasn't like, my command was in the zone, but not, I wasn't like putting it exactly how I was like early, like later in the season. So I was just just throwing as hard as I could.
Yeah.
I'm blowing heaters by him, gonna punch him out. Yeah. And I'm out on the mound, and I'm just like smiling, and I'm like, his name's Rene Martinez.
Oh yeah, I know Rene. Yeah.
So his brother Chaz is at, he got drafted by the Pirates last year, but he's at Oklahoma this year, and both of them are training here. So he ends up just crushing a ball.
Oh,
like
geez.
I throw a pitch like up and away, like maybe 93, 94. He crushes it. And I'm like looking, and San Antonio's a pretty big park.
Yeah.
And I think he hit it like 102 or something off the bat, which I ended up finding out that, like, that's not really that hard in pro ball. Like,
it's
you
kind
hit
of
a ball 102, it doesn't mean it's going to go out. You know what I mean? Like, hit tracks, you hit a ball 102, it's probably going to go out if it's got the right angle. But so he hits it, and he thinks he hit a homer. So he's like, not really pimping it, but he's like jogging, and I look and I'm like, our outfielder's going to catch that. He's going to catch that right now. So he's going back, but he's like doing this like all over the place, and it had just rained, so like the warning track there is just a mess. Cooked. So the guy goes out, he slips, he's like stumbling around, and he goes like this, the ball drops, bounces over the fence for a ground rule double. But I'm just on the mound and I'm laughing. You know,
you're like, there's no way.
So I get the ball from the umpire or whatever, and I walk all the way back to second base. I'm like, you thought you got that, didn't you? He's like, I did. He's like, that's all I got. It's like, I thought I got that one. I was like, yeah. So you better not be pimping that shit off me. But if, you know, it was the same like we talked earlier. I was just having fun. So it wasn't like it didn't bother me. You know. It was more of just like, oh, that was pretty cool. I got to face somebody that trained with us.
Yeah, it's wild. And he's 25 maybe?
Yeah, he's probably around there.
Yeah,
yeah, maybe a little.
He's a good player.
But then, you know, we had a kid in AA named Mason Fox, and he's like a pretty hard thrower. Has a real good like vertical movement. And so he's like a prospect for them. But the one thing they did, which oddly enough, I've never done this in my career, is like the whole kangaroo court thing. I've been on teams where they start to do it. But then it never,
fades out.
Yeah, it fades out. Everyone. So in AA, the pitching coach, Pete Zamora, was another guy I played against. Like,
I remember that name.
The pitching coach, and he was in, I think he was in AA with the Phillies when I was in AA with the Pirates. And we may have like pitched against each other, you know. So he's my pitching coach. And he ends up being really good with the whole thing. But you know, you get fined for 2 out walks, or you know. All that stuff as well, but then just stupid stuff guys are doing in the clubhouse. So first day that I'm there and we have kangaroo court, I get fined for showing up late to the season, right? I'm like, oh,
hilarious.
So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go on a warpath now. If you're coming after the old guy, like I'm going after everyone. I'm gonna make sure I bury all of you. So like one kid, Mason Fox, I ended up fining him. I think it was for throwing slower, because there was a game I came in, and he was usually a hard thrower, but I think I topped out at like 94 in the game, and he topped out at like 93.
Oh, jeez.
And I came in and I put him in the box for throwing slower than someone old enough to be your dad. That's like awesome. It was just that stuff all year. Like, hey, like, I'm super old and you're super young, so you should be better than me, and you're not.
And you're in the training room.
Exactly.
Getting stretched out.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure I fined some people for that. But anyone who throws slower than me, they definitely got fined.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad I wasn't on the team. I would have been worn out every outing.
So it was just,
good,
great experience. Really fun time. And all that stuff just added to, the enjoyment of it.
And like I said, like following it, just, because we've known each other, and it was awesome. It was like cathartic in a way to watch you go out there and deal and be like, man, that's like, it can still be done. And, it's just, and not just done because you were crafty, but like plus stuff, like by guys and the changeup. Changeup was filthy, right? Didn't you do something different with your changeup?
I like invented my new my own changeup that I'd never seen anybody throw. I started spiking the middle finger.
Oh, that's a trip.
So I'd always held it. Maybe we talked about this last year. I can't remember.
No, we didn't.
So I'd always thrown like a specific changeup, and I thought I was decent enough. I'd get guys out with it, but now that we have all this data and all these pitch tracking machines, you find out like, well, it doesn't really spin that great. So you're not like one of the big things on a changeup is you want to kill like vertical break. So
Yep.
the way you kill it is to get the ball to spin more in
Sideways,
this spin direction than, you know, this
Yeah.
this adds vertical break, this kills vertical break.
Yep.
So I had tried a ton of different grips. I mean, I was like doing everything.
Yeah.
Any grip that I could think of, and it would just always come out at like, for lefty for me, 1030. So 1030 is kind of the spin direction where it's like this void. Not saying you can't get guys out with that spin direction, but the ball doesn't move
Yeah.
a ton horizontally. It doesn't move a ton
And you're looking
vertically.
for 9 o'clock in theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 1030 is just like, it's when guys sit there and go, oh yeah, he's got like a flat fastball, or I can see it well, usually they're spinning at 1030 or 130 as a righty. And so all my changeups would spin there, and not to say you can't get people out, like arm speed matters.
Yeah.
You know, if you have good arm speed and the ball comes out slower, that's gonna, you know, affect the timing. But I wanted like a good spinning pitch. So I had been working with a curveball as well, just messing around with it. So I was spiking my finger on that, trying to just get my middle finger to be the last finger on the ball. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try my changeup like that, because in theory, I wanted it to come off my ring finger and be the last finger.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
I had the Edgertronic camera set up and hooked up, and I'm looking for, you know, I'm thinking like, oh, it's coming off that finger.
Yeah.
And then you look on the slow motion, like high def camera, and it's not coming off that finger. It feels like it is, but it's not, you know? Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, like this thing is crazy because this isn't what it feels like I'm doing.
Exactly.
So what I started doing was put that ring finger on a seam, and then I would like spike my middle finger. So I'm holding the ball like this.
Oh, that is a trip.
So I thought, like, if this is spiked, this will be easier to like throw the ball off of that finger.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't happen, but what ended up happening was, as I would throw the ball, this finger would push like into the ball, and then it would force the ball to like do this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So not only
Makes
was
sense.
it like making the ball spin the way I wanted it to, it was like completely killing like the spin rate as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was throwing last year, I'd be up to 2,500 spin rate on a good day with my fastball.
Yep.
And then when I was throwing this changeup, there were days where it'd be under 1,000 total spin. So it's just like,
Yeah.
and like falling off the table. The only difficult thing was I had just literally started throwing it like 2 weeks before I left. So I didn't have a ton of time to like refine it and be able to command it.
Stuff,
so when I threw it well, it was really good. But there were times where I'd like sail it a little bit, or I'd spike it.
Yep.
It wasn't as consistent as I would like. I've worked on it this off season a little more.
Yeah, this year probably.
So
gets
now
even
it's
better,
like, I can sit there and throw it in the zone all day long. But yeah, it's just, you know, one of those things with being able to have like all of these different, all the different tech and, you know, the cameras and all this stuff. It's like almost having a cheat sheet. Like you can just come up with new stuff and experiment and see if it works. You know, you can almost create something in a lab by just
100%.
all of the data and using all this stuff.
Dude, I've never heard of that in my life. You know, like that grip, and I'm around a lot of pitchers, I feel like, and that's a try. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, you know, I've had a bunch of guys do it in here. I think I showed it to like 3 or 4 pro guys.
Yeah.
Earlier in the off season, and they all threw it really well.
Yeah.
Because they were struggling to throw it. I was like, hey,
Changes
just try
hard
this.
Sometimes, yeah.
And then they threw it, and like, oh my gosh, that's like really good, and the numbers are like really good.
Yeah.
And I think we had one guy that I showed, and he was, because every time I show it to someone, I said, it feels weird, but just throw it. You'll be surprised, like you'll be able to throw it close to the zone. It feels like it's weird in your hand, but and then the one guy I showed, he's like doing this, and he's like coming set, and then he steps off. I'm like, dude, just throw the ball.
Exactly.
Like you're thinking too much. And of course, he's the one guy that didn't. It was terrible.
Yeah.
He's like,
of course, because he was thinking about it.
He's just like, oh my God. But all the other guys, it's. I think I just showed someone the other day, and it was a really good pitch. So
that's a trip.
you know.
There you go. Ready for 22.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's get
Absolutely.
Get that thing rolling.
No doubt.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. It's good seeing you again.
Yeah, good
Happy
seeing
for
you. Always
Congrats
fun
on the
doing
new
this.
baby. Yeah.
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 I'm glad we were able to pull it in here.
Yeah, we are in his facility right now. There'll be a bunch of stuff on social, but yeah, it's awesome. And God bless your athletes for being quiet, because
they're never quiet.
That
in
could have
here
gone
either.
south quick. I know they'll be happy
Usually
to get the
guys are
music back on.
screaming, yelling, trying
Yeah.
to do like some velo throws and yelling, and the music's blaring.
Yeah,
So
that's as it should be. That's
it's like
how it
a
should be.
library in here today.
Yeah, I know. Seriously.
Pretty nice.